Nice. Yeah, you good?
Yeah, just double check that test.
Wicked.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not peeking. Okay, record. Sync again. We're good.
much more professional than Jordan, mate.
Well, the thing is, for like all the sim racing stuff I was doing, I was literally doing all this. Like I had like 4 cameras in here and fucking.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I normally would have it all set up, but I haven't done that in forever. So I took it all down and put it all away. And
yeah. Well, if you're ready, we can get going, brother.
I am ready.
Matt, it's good to see you, bro. How's it going?
Yeah, I would take a sip of coffee as soon as you asked me the first question. I'm good. How are you?
Dude, I'm decent, man. You know, just going through these odd times that we're in. I'm sure you're in the same boat.
So I feel kind of like detached from it because don't get me wrong, I understand it and I see the severity of it, but where I live is very remote. So it's not like when this all started and I was seeing pictures from colleagues in London or Germany and it was like ghost towns. For me, it was like I'd go outside in my little rural street of 15 houses and there'd be like 4 people walking because everyone's home from work. And I'd be like, this is more people than normal. So I like felt kind of, I don't know. I felt kind of mean, like rude, because I wasn't like relating to it on the same level. I was just kind of seeing it secondhand. But yeah, it's pretty bizarre now. Now that it's lasted as long as it has as well, like this whole COVID period and stuff, it's become like more like, I don't know. I'm definitely more aware now and in tune with it because certainly everything I expected we'd be back to not normal, but like getting going by now.
You know what's cracking me up right now is that you're talking directly into camera.
I'm used to it.
You don't have to at all, by the way.
I can look at you? All right, I can look over here.
It's fine, it's fine. Yeah, Matt, it's great to have you here. To everybody watching, I wanted to get Matt on. I think I first asked you, like 2-3 weeks ago when I was starting to get these recordings going. And so, yeah, it's great to have you here, bro. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You did ask a while ago. It's been a bit of time, but that's all right. I've been doing like absolutely nothing. So here we are.
Yeah, what are you mainly up to at the moment, bro? Because for all of us, like with events off, at least travel for events with Rona and everything else that comes with it, it's definitely been a different time in terms of that. So I think me and you are in a similar boat. Like we've been doing things, but we're mainly at home.
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. Like we have like an Atlantic bubble right now, which refers to the Atlantic provinces in Canada. So like I can go to my neighbor. I'm in New Brunswick right now, but I can go to Nova Scotia. I can go to Prince Edward Island. So I've been trying to like mountain bike as much as I can on some of the networks that are local that I normally wouldn't have time to see. And like last year, I think I did like 500 and something kilometers on my bike, which I thought was like a big deal for me. That's like nothing compared to most people. But like this year I've already cracked 1,000, like just being home more. So that's been keeping me like slightly more fit than otherwise. I think a lot of people's fitness have gone the other way in COVID. I'm like the only person I know that's lost weight, which is great, I guess. And then I've been doing some trail building just because it's enjoyable and it also helps build networks for all the local people and whatnot. A little bit of racing, not a lot of that. And that's pretty much it. Gaming. Beat Horizon Zero Dawn in like a week because I did like straight marathon that didn't touch anything else. And that's it. That's pretty much my life.
Wicked, man. I want to go back to what you mentioned about kind of like where you're from, where you live, because as far as I've known, you are quite a way out in, not the wilderness. I don't want to say Canadian wilderness.
I'm in the boons. I'm in the woods. I'm in the sticks.
What's that like for you in general through your career? Has that been a place of solace and sort of escape?
I think so. I think right now, especially, I have more appreciation for rural life. I think COVID, people stuck in cities and small apartments and being kind of confined to all these restrictions, probably are feeling it a little more than people like me that are in rural areas because, you know, I can still self-isolate by going into the woods or, hanging out with my dog, things that I can get out and actually do. Like imagine having a full size. Yeah. Where's your pup right now? I know. Yeah. No, Jaden's not here right now.
Keep talking. Keep talking.
Jaden actually just went by the window over there to go for a walk with my brother and sisters. So,
yeah.
No, she like, I can still go out and walk her. Like imagine being in a big city with a dog and being confined to like your block or whatever the restrictions were in respective cities. Like the poor dog's going to be going stir crazy, right? So yeah, for me, I really like it. I think being in a rural area, like I say, I'm in the sticks. I'm in a small area. There's probably 200,000 people around me type of thing. But I like it. It's growing up. You always think this is so boring. I want to get out. I would rather be anywhere else in the world. There's nothing exciting here. Oh my God. Everyone knows everything about everything. And it's like, you can't escape rumors and whatever the case may be. And then you come back after being away and you realize like, this is very comfortable. Like I know where I am and what's, it's there's no like stress and overwhelming anxiety of the city and rush hour. It like doesn't really exist here. It's just pretty chill.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying because obviously I'm from a big city, right? And so
Yeah.
my best friend, my family and friends, they've all been going through full on lockdown. Whereas I've been in Sweden with my girlfriend, as you know. It's not rural, but it's a small town, and like I can appreciate 100% this type of life compared to being in a massive city, but especially during a time like this. And of course, Sweden hasn't had proper lockdown at all, so other than the stuff that we mentioned, like going to events and the travel side of things, my life hasn't changed too much.
Yeah. Yep. I agreed. Like I'm not going to any events. It's weird because I was traveling so much that I feel like I have my life back. But then now I'm like, it was to the point where like, let's say this started in March. By like July, I was like, this is great. I'm getting R&R. I'm feeling good. Now I'm to the point now that we're hitting October and the weather's getting colder here and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back on the road. Let's go. Like I'm done with it.
Take me back to Cancun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I'm sure like where you are right now is really similar as I'm being interrupted. Oh, there's Jaden.
Oh,
There's
Jaden. Hello.
I don't know if she'll come on camera or not. Jaden, come here.
It's fine. It's
She's
fine.
like wagging her tail for me. That's it. You probably can't even see her on the main camera.
No, but this is what's good. I can edit in the
Oh, she hates
cam.
when I do this. Absolutely hates when I do this. So
she loves it, mate.
Up at the same time. So she's like, let me down. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, so I'm sure where you are is kind of like similar like that. Like I say, like you're in a smaller town, but you still have some of your freedoms, right? So it's kind of all right.
Yeah, man.
Give me one sec because Jaden's not the only one.
No, go for it. It's fine.
Sorry,
Remember, I'm editing this, so I can cut this bit.
They're testing it right now. She's like wanting me to go really badly. She's like staring at me like, why are you not coming to have fun? All right, cool. There, we got Jaden after all.
You mentioned you felt like you had your life back. What does that mean?
Well, and that sounds like, like I hated esports.
No, not at all. So this is why I'm asking you, because I know it doesn't mean that, because I can also relate to what you're saying. I know what you mean, but I want you to explain it to everyone else.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're asking that, because I think that's the point. Is like a lot of people don't really see it this way when you say that. They just don't consider all of it. But like when you're on the road as much as we are, or were, or whatever the case is right now, you're just so busy, and like you're constantly going to events and you're constantly on planes and eating food that you don't even really get to pick. It's whatever they feed you on a plane or whatever. And you're on hours that are, work hours. Sure, everyone goes to work, but you're in different time zones and you have different wake up and call time. It's just a very unregimented life that becomes chaotic, to be completely honest. Like it's chaos at times. You're just so busy and you get detached from friends at home and family, and you're getting it all secondhand through social media, and like you try and keep up, but you never really do. And like I used to play ultimate frisbee, which was like my adult sport. Like obviously played hockey and stuff as a kid, but in Canada there's like a problem where a lot of sports kind of end after high school, and so that was what I was doing. And like even like mountain biking, like I say, I was going when I could, but not a lot. Now I can actually have the freedom to choose, and I can sleep in if I want, like on the weekends, like anyone else, or I can get up at 9 each weekday and go do something kind of in order and be around what I guess makes me. Like it makes you more aware of who you were. I know that sounds really deep. It actually isn't. It is, but it isn't. It's like, it's just you get back to doing the things that made you the person that you are growing up, I guess. So it's just nice to have all that back. And like seeing Jaden this much, like Jaden's pumped right now. Like she's the happiest. COVID's been the greatest to her. She's like, oh my God, Matt's here. The whole time Matt's here. This is freaking awesome. Now, if I leave, like if I go out the front door when I was traveling, even if I was going to like the grocery store, she'd be like, where's he going? Oh no, he's leaving. Oh no. Now it's like, she's like, yeah, you'll be back. Whatever. I don't care. Like, it's going to break her heart when my suitcase comes out again. But like, it's just the little things. Like, I'm sure you know what I mean? Like even just going to your own gym and like having your own, just the very basic creature comforts that we lose by being on the road.
Yeah. How's the editing coming along, Matt? To everybody, to everybody watching, I swear, since maybe the first day I met you in like middle of 2015, I think that's when we first met in London at the Face It event, right? And I was doing content with my mate Dom. You were there. Matt's always carried a huge spare suitcase with him with a camera, and he's always talking about he's taking pictures and editing and whatever. Yeah, every time I've seen since then. Oh yeah, I'm still working on it. Like it's just got a backlog of photos.
It's getting worse too.
How are we doing 5 years on?
Oh man, talk about 10 years on. Like the last full shoot I edited was probably from 2013, and I want to get through them, but I have this horrible problem where I'm indecisive, and I'll spend 8 hours of photo and then get overwhelmed and just drop it and get nowhere. Yeah, it's not, it's like right now is the time I should be doing it. And I'm still not. Like I did some, I have some that are like almost done. I just need to do like the web color correction for like Instagram and stuff. But like, yeah, man, talk about the bane of my existence. One of my photographer buddies said once way back that was like the best thing that could ever happen to Matt is his hard drives burn and he loses them all. So he has to start fresh because I'm so backed up that like I could take a photo today and edit it today and post it today. I could probably do that once a week. Like if I was doing something and getting like, you know, or at an event. Problem is I'm like 10 years behind in doing that. So it's brutal. There's 3 hard drives that are full and like a backup one. I got like 6 terabytes of photos to go through, man. It's terrible.
Good luck, mate. Good luck.
I know it's never going to happen.
I feel like this is going to be a lifelong problem.
Oh, it is. And I swear to God, it's one of the things that makes me so miserable because like I want to get them done so badly because like that's what I went to school for. Like I don't want to lose the skill. And like they're all, some of the photos are like really cool. Like some of them are really good. Like genuinely, like I'm like think that they would be fantastic images in their own right. And it's like, I can't just let it go. So I'm like always stressed about it. And then I'm like, some days I'll start editing and get nowhere. And I'm just even worse that day because I'm like, fuck, like it happened again. I'm just not, it's brutal. Like I don't know. So maybe that my friend was right. Maybe I just need to burn them all and forget it, but I just can't do it.
Talking about things that you're skilled at, Matt, obviously I can't have you here without I can't have you here without talking about casting. Bro, you're a legendary caster in CS and within esports in general. Are you missing it a lot at the moment?
So I wouldn't have said a lot at the start of this. Only because I think, yeah, fair enough.
Things I do, yeah.
I don't think anyone would have, but like only because I think people were aware that I was looking for change. Henry and I were kind of at the end of a road, and Henry and I are friends, and I think we hold each other in high regard, and we have a lot of respect for each other, but we weren't overly friendly. We had a lot of little bickering moments.
I'm so happy you're bringing this up, Matt, because there's lots of things I know about you, but I don't know if you're going to be comfortable to talk about them on camera, etc. And like, I think, sorry to butt in, because I don't want you to lose your thread. Keep it there. One of the things that we've all known behind the scenes about Matt and Henry, not that they're enemies or hate each other, but they're not like best mates like you maybe would expect.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think that actually, by no fault of Henry's, made things kind of worse at times because then he would go rant to the others about something that he just needed to get off his chest. But then they would take that as like face value. Like, man, like Matt's like going crazy over something, or like maybe like, you know, I'm on my phone during a cast because that was a bad habit. But then they like take it out on me on Henry's behalf because they know that like he can't and it's like awkward. And then it's like, what the hell's going on? Like, why am I battling everyone all of a sudden? And I think it's one of those little things like social dynamic. It wasn't meant to be. Like Henry didn't mean anything by telling them that. And I'm sure they didn't realize, but it just created a bit of tension at times. But yeah, we weren't like best friends. Like we started that way in Romania and we hung out a lot and like, we're very similar in ways, but we're very different in others. And I just think like we got on very well when we were in a work environment and when we had to, you know, do the job. Obviously the duo I think was phenomenal. I think we had great chemistry, but yeah, like we weren't the best of friends. So eventually when we started bickering over the duo and things with casting, and I'd been doing some more racing stuff, which I think maybe secretly, you'd have to ask him, but I think that secretly bothered Henry to some extent. Like he was like, oh, Matt's distracted, you know, he's watching F1 in the green room or whatever. And I think that kind of like just those little things, he kind of thought maybe, you know, he's more friendly with Alex. He was having more fun with Alex. And I think that the phrase he said was the duo might not be better, but I'm better with Alex. And I think secretly Henry kind of like, he's vicarious. He wants to be the lead, the front man of a band. Like, you know what I mean? In that way, like, so I think for him, that was like a chance for him to maybe branch out. And he brought that up to my attention and we had a conversation. And I just realized like, right, I need to look at some other options and just see. And maybe we would have got back together if not for COVID. Maybe we would have realized, but obviously here we are. And like Thorin said, like you take it all for granted and you think like, oh, I'll just see that person at the next event. But like, it's going to be so different if I did come back. But now to answer your question, as you asked it, do I miss it? I'm starting to realize like being home this long. And now that I've, you know, had my R&R and I'm settling into my life again a little bit. I'm like, okay, like I kind of want to go back to an event here and there. And I watched like, I didn't even watch CS when I wasn't working it, to be completely honest. Like there was times like I just wouldn't like keep up with it, so to speak. And I've been watching it lately again, like, and as a fan, not even like listening to the broadcast or like judging the casters, like, you know, being critical like we are in our roles about what's going on. I'm just like literally watching the game as a fan again, which is good because I think I needed that back. So, yeah.
It's interesting because what we said, right, was that at the start of COVID, we might not have necessarily said, oh, yeah, I need to be straight back at events. But I think the time off that a lot of us have had to take has made us realize that maybe we don't need to do all those things as much, even if we do miss them. At least that's how I feel. Like, something that is talked about a lot on the talent side of things is that often we feel like we need to say yes to everything. I'm definitely not going to feel like that post all of this COVID situation.
No, I think that's something that we were all very scared of. I think part of that came from like, oh, if I don't say yes to this event, someone else will, and maybe they do a sufficient enough job and they charge less money that they're just going to get hired from that. Like, we were scared to lose work more than anything. And like, I made it very clear toward end of 2018, start of 2019, like, I'm not going to say yes to every event. And like, ESL stopped asking me to go to Pro League, and like, that was a significant chunk of change and a lot of work that we were doing, and I just wasn't going. And like, at first I was kind of like bitter, like, oh, they didn't ask me. But then I realized, like, no, wait, this is what I wanted. Like, this is better. I can have some time off. And like, I started cutting out Blast events. Obviously, I was pretty vocal about like not being supportive of the Blast system and the way that they do things and whatnot. But I still was like, okay, I'm gonna sit this one out. And I decided if I was going to cut small events, I already wasn't really doing DreamHacks. Like, Blast would be the next. And I think you're right. I think if I came back now, I wouldn't say I'd look for exclusivity, but I'd look to align with just one TO, maybe pick up a few spare events here and there, and work really good with them to do something more. Like, I think we were underutilized as well. It was like, show up, cast, go home. Thanks for being here. See you next time. And it's like, whoa, like, I want to do some like behind the scenes stuff, or like, why can't we just like get a camera and have a little chat with Henry in the city center, or like show off some culture where we like, there was so much more we could have done and we just didn't. And I think I'd like to, like, if I had, but no, but like, if you had more time.
We did that once. Remember, we did that once. PGL, me, you, and Henry.
I was like miserable too. I was like, what are we doing? You guys are like breakdancing. I was like, oh my God, like, just get me out of here. It's like, kill me now. You guys are being ridiculous. Oh man. And like, yeah, you guys breakdance with other breakdancers that were busking to the point where they were like, yeah, you guys got to stop. Like,
I should be able to find it and get it up on
it's on YouTube. 100% on YouTube. Yeah, it's there.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Old Town Square here in Krakow. I'm very excited because I'm joined right now by two of my favourite people, Sadokist and Henry G. Guys, what's going on?
Not too much, Parla. I'm not much of a tourist, I have to say, but I'm actually liking the vibe of this place.
You seem like you're more excited than I am, even.
I want to show them some of my dance moves, you know, a bit of martial arts, perhaps. Show them what I'm about, and we'll see what we can find.
I don't know either of these people, just for the record. I'm just going to keep my distance, maybe find some beer, so this will all go a lot smoother, and we'll get through the day.
Look at that!
Parla, I want to do this right now.
Horse and carriage. Hi, guys.
I think I want to do it, but only if I get to sit on the horse itself.
Congratulations, guys.
Can I sit on the horse itself?
I was congratulating them.
What have they done?
Did they get married? Sorry?
What have they done?
I think they got married.
Well, if you're in a horse and carriage, you've done something, right?
Well, we're going to go in one, and I've done something.
What kind of animal am I? I think I'm a saber-toothed tiger.
A possum. A possum.
Possum.
Yes.
Or a sloth.
Or a skunk.
So you're speaking real talk. Had him on the phone, the boy had bad talk. So I'm on the road, the boy had no talk. Pull up on a nigga, we boss, we don't talk. When it's beef, when I see how you run, you don't walk. Pull up on a nigga, we boss, we don't talk. When it's beef, when I see how you run, you don't walk.
Right, guys. Beautiful, man. We love it.
We rode a horse and buggy, and it was really romantic. And like, yeah, the whole time I was like, Jesus Christ, you two are being ridiculous. But yeah, like, just stuff like that would be great to do more of. Like, I'm glad PGL did it. ESL never had the time or the resources. Everyone was always so busy with players and whatnot. So yeah, that would be a prime example.
Going back to the, I guess, core topic of casting, what's your story about how and why you got into it? I think I know a base level, like a of the timeline, but what's the overall Matt story of how you got into this side of things?
So the Matt story, geez, born on a summer's day. It wasn't even summer, it was fall. March 31st, 1989 at 1:11 in the afternoon. 8 ounces. That's probably a lie. It's probably like 14. I was a little sumo wrestler. Look, I don't know. We're not going to start back there. I had a dad that was in radio, so announcing was kind of cool. I always listened to that. My grandfather was a priest, Anglican clergyman, so he did sermons. So public speaking was kind of like normal in our household, if that makes sense. And
one sec, bro. Bullen, termina, please. He's just sitting there, like, licking his paws.
Licking his balls. Damn, dog. I'm actually going to adjust my camera down a bit. I realize when I like sit back, it's really out of frame.
To Uncle Matt, yeah? You got to chill out, buddy. Everyone's going to hear you groaning in the background, yeah? All right.
Damn, dog. It's all about him. No, it's cool. I actually adjusted my camera a bit too, so I can like relax and you can see my hands more.
Yeah, go on. Carry on, carry on.
So, yeah, so...
And, bro, definitely don't feel like you always need to look into the lens.
I know, I just keep checking it to make sure it's recording, and then I just end up staring because it's like fine, production, you know? So, yeah, like I played... I guess we'll start from the gaming aspect. Like, so, like, aside from the family and announcing, that's what encouraged me to, like, or be comfortable trying casting. But that's not what led me there. It wasn't like I set out to do that. I basically was done sports... I'd played competitive gaming a little bit before that. Like I played Counter-Strike when I was in high school, 1.6, just like Cal IM and stuff. Not even anything crazy. I think we made main one year, but I don't even think I played that season. And then obviously COD 4 Pro Mod was when I like got really serious about it. And that was actually when I moved to Halifax because I grew up in St. John, where I am now. Even though I was born in Halifax, we moved, and then I went back there for school. But I was 18. Legal drinking age is 19, and I didn't really have a fake ID of anyone that looked like me, so I couldn't go to the bars despite that my friends were. And I wasn't really playing sports. So like social, like and I also wasn't in one of the main universities. I was looking to go to an art university, which I hadn't even applied to yet. So I was kind of just there for work, looking to get into university, deciding what I wanted to do with my life, basically. So unless you're in like one of the main universities, play a sport or go to the bars, you don't really have a social scene. Like that's it. That's your main social dynamic. So I was like, well, I'll just play video games, and got really serious in those couple of years, like playing a lot of hours. And then jokingly started commentating on the side. I think it was like in a scrim where my teammates weren't listening to me and I was the in-game leader, and I just started commentating myself. And then they were like, oh, you're pretty good. And I was like, oh, now you fucking listen, like assholes. And then like someone was like, oh, you should do more. And then fast forward, like this was like 2008. And then 2012, I think, was the first time I casted a LAN, and it was a charity event in Halifax that one of my friends asked me to do. And then from that, everyone was like, oh, that was really good. You should look into doing more. And then the same company asked if I wanted to do ETS in Montreal, which ETS was sort of the biggest bring your own, BYOC LAN in the East Coast of North America, I think at the time. Definitely the biggest in Canada, probably still is the biggest in Canada. I'm not sure what they're doing now. But then, yeah, basically went there, did that. People liked it again. But it was clear I didn't really know much about Counter-Strike at the time. Like I'd been pretty removed from it for a while. And then, so I did the ESEA editions and did ESEA Idol. And that's when it really started. And then from there, people got to know me a little bit. When Anders and Semler couldn't go to MLG due to the Twitch exclusivity deal, people tweeted being like, oh, you should take this guy. And then that went really well.
If I remember correctly, a big moment of traction was when a video came out of, you know what I'm going to say, right?
Launders?
Yeah, you casting Launders KC in, right?
So that was the second ETS I did.
What was that, 2014 or early 2015?
No, it would have been 2014.
All right, he made it. So Launder's already underway right now. I think, are you the world record holder on this map, Launder?
No.
He's busy. He's not the world record holder, but he might be after this, especially with the motivation of Sadokist sweet nothings in his ear. And he makes the 360. Oh, he made it. Yeah, there it is. Number 5. He heads back to that long jump as he 360 bunny hops onto the secondary shortcut. Now he's going to head into the sewage room.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
And I basically picked Launders, like a bunch of people auditioned to go with me. I think Hino was another one I was going to take with me. Maybe Davey was even in on that. I'm not sure. But like Launders was in Toronto. I was like, okay, this guy's kind of monotone. Like, he's very laid back. He's gotten better at that. But he's good. He knows the game. Seems chill. Brought him out. And then he was on a KZ server like later that week. And I casted him doing a KZ jump run. And that was, that's like one of the most viewed YouTube videos with me in it probably still. But then ESEA was kind of in the middle and after that. And then I went in 2015 to the X Games. And then I went from PGL, picked me up like 2 weeks after that immediately, which was partly due to Get Right giving me a lot of like encouragement and putting in a good word, because I'd met him at 2 ESEA lands, and both times we hung out and we're pretty good friends. And so he recommended it for sure. And I think there was a couple other people. I think Semler was like, yeah, this guy seems good. Grab him. Because again, they couldn't go to X Games. But there was a few people that had my back. For Flaren was another one as well. That was like, this guy seems like he should, PGL is a new league. He'd be a good investment. Yeah. And then it kind of blew up from there.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit more about Okay, how do I contextualize this for everybody at home? So Matt's just gone through his story about how he got to this point where he was about to go off and work with PGL, and then he goes to PGL. He ends up dueling with Henry, and that was kind of the birth.
Well,
no, wait, Natu.
Toby Wan was
Toby
the first one from Dota in the PGL kickoff season, and then I went home again because PGL was done. Natu was there for some of it, and then the second season, Toby Wan had the international for Dota, couldn't go. And they were like, who should we get? And they were like, well, Matt could lead cast. So who do we get as a second? And I'd seen Henry at 1Gfinity and was like, oh yeah, this guy seems good. Like, I like him. He seems like he's got a good style. Seems like he's socially capable. He's not awkward. Like he's cool. And then I didn't even think of him until I can't remember who messaged me. Maybe it was Natsu or like Sylvie, who's the head of PGL, and was like, what about this guy? And I was like, sure, seems fine. And then that's how it started. There was no plans. It was completely coincidental.
And so then you and Henry ended up bunking up together in Romania, and that was kind of like the start of the legendary duo, right?
Yes, absolutely. He knocked on the door, and I forget what he said. I think he said, it was like, oh, like, you have better hair than I thought. And I was like, no, and then I was like, oh, you're taller than I thought. He goes, yeah, you're pretty short. Or like, that was like the first conversation. I was like, what the hell? Like, so then, lived with each other in an apartment. Henry was just coming out of a bad breakup as well. So Moses was like, oh, Matt will get him out of his shell. They'll be back at it in no time. You'll be back at the bars. So we were going out a bunch, and the studio is right down the street, like a block away, and good times.
Yeah, and
give me a sec. This light just died. I didn't realize I didn't have it on power. I'm just gonna plug it in.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Go for it.
Kind of fine, but this one's really dark.
I'm sure it's fine, bro. Don't worry about it. But yeah, go for it.
Give me a second, man. Boom. Oh, it's brighter too with the actual plug instead of the battery. What do you know? Oh, everything looks better. Wow. I'm sorry. I should have done that sooner. You think I know how to use cameras. It's not just the editing that I suck at, apparently.
What was it like at the very start when you guys were casting together? How did you build up chemistry over time? Was it really bad at the start?
It wasn't really bad, but like it was like there was a lot of like we didn't have flow. If that makes sense. Like part of the chemistry is to have a nice flow, a nice balance. So you like bounce back and forth. It seems natural. It's like you're almost having a conversation despite that you're clearly talking to an audience and whatnot. So there was one round he talked for like he talked like 3 rounds. It was 1 round, but it was like 3. Like he went through all the rounds, he was trying to analyze something and he's just taking forever on it. And I just said to him after the game, I was like, all right, 45 seconds, you talk, I talk, shut the fuck up. That's how we're going to do it. And he was like, whoa. And like the problem was with Toby Wan, he was like dominating the cast because he didn't know who I was. And I was kind of going with it because I was the new guy. But then we got to the finals and it was like way worse. And I was hardly talking and it was just awkward. So I was like, I'm going to get this out of the way now. Like I'm not going to let this turn into something bad and create bad habits. Let's just get it right from the start. So even though I was like an asshole, it worked because we had to do this. So like obviously 45 seconds, you talk, I talk. That's like really regimented and like it shouldn't be like that, but we had to start somewhere. So that's what we did. We made sure we were like pretty even on our talk time. We made a point of me focusing on play-by-play, him focusing on the analytics. And then that's how it built. And like, it was kind of cool. At the start, Henry was like a deer in the headlights to some of my humor. At the end, I think he was like ready to kill me with some of my humor, but was also very good at him himself. His banter got better. His delivery was way more confident. He could do play-by-play as well at the end, like because he realized in 2016 when we were rising to like prominence, I guess you could say, like I was getting a lot of hype videos and like the trailers that obviously go at events and like the ads and previews and all that was all my voice because they use highlight clips. And I felt like Henry maybe wasn't getting enough credit. So we actually made a conscious decision at one point, like, why don't you do some play-by-play for the next few months, get a few highlights, and then it can balance out. And then it almost went too far the other way, which we had to rein back in. But yeah, it was at the start, it was really like awkward. Like I've listened to some and they sucked.
You see these sorts of technical conversations and meta-analysis of your own casting. How often were you guys having those sorts of discussions? How much of the growth was just of how you guys synergized was natural?
So a lot of it was natural and that our personalities clicked in that way. Like my jokes he would kind of like the fact that he kind of was like the deer in the headlights was good to a point. I think like it was pretty, I want to say it was pretty natural. The only thing was that we were both awkward because we weren't used to being on camera. So it wasn't like we had to work on each other. We just had to work on the overall package, if that makes sense. Like, and I think that as that went on, it just became so natural. Like we used to sit and critique individually, it was pretty rare we sat together. Like I would critique myself and be like, oh, like I over delivered and my breathing sucked, or I overtalked Henry. I shouldn't have thrown to him there. Like, and he would do the same with him. And it was pretty rare we sat down together and we're like, right, we have to fix all of this. We just did self-improvement at that point. The flow became pretty natural pretty early on, I think. I'd have to go back and listen, but it seemed that way going through it live.
Do you ever reflect or are aware of the fact of how well perceived you and Henry are as a duo? Overall, people call you and Henry one of the best casting duos of all time, perhaps across esports, not just CS. And like, what's it like? Firstly, do you agree? Secondly, what's it like to know that? How is it to have that public perception of you?
Well, firstly, do I agree? Yes, I do. I not to sound arrogant, but I do. I have to give credit where it's due. And I think that was one of the problems that I had to answer the rest of your question, is that two things. One is when I came into esports, we were still very much growing. It was big, but not as big as it is now. The viewership was there, but the professionalism was still growing and the infrastructure around it. And there wasn't as much talent in the scene per se. The tier 2 guys, there was no home for them. There was no, like, you know, you either were at the top or you were doing nothing. Like there was no growth period. So to be one of the best, well, you kind of had to be, otherwise you weren't going to be getting work. So when people were like, oh, they're one of the best duos, I was like, yeah, we're one of the only duos. Like, what are you? Like, so I was kind of like, that's not really a compliment. So I was always kind of like, no, I got to be the best. Like, let's go. Like, but like to say like, are we one of the best in esports? Looking back on it, yeah, I think when I even listen to it now, kind of removed, I'm like, wow, yeah, like it was pretty smooth. It was fluid. It was hype. It was good. But to your point about perception, I never really got it. Like we were doing signing sessions and stuff, and I was like, I'm just a commentator. Like, why do so many people want to line up and get my autograph on their friggin' mouse pad? Like, but when I was a fan, I was also like, damn, like I want to go meet GetRight or Dendy from Dota. Like these guys I watched, because I watched a lot of Dota before I got into Counter-Strike commentary. And so I kind of get that point of view. Like I understand that, you know, these are people you listen to and you meet them in real life. It's like a moment, right? You're breaking down that fourth wall, so to speak, in real life. But I didn't get it at the time. Like, and I think I took a lot of that for granted. And it was like, I never felt like I belonged in Counter-Strike because I didn't play it a lot. And I wasn't like a lot of the people we work with, Henry, pro player, a lot of the people I worked with in Europe were at many more LANs than I was able to get to as a kid being in a remote area. And I always felt like kind of like the outsider, that I was like, not necessarily trespassing, but that I wasn't like, I hadn't made my name in it and I wasn't part of Counter-Strike. You know what I mean? I was just there doing my job. Now, when I look back and people are like, these are some of the most historic moments, like Sadokist is part of them. Like I put my voice and my stamp on it. And it took me a while to realize that, like, hang on, you are in this moment. Like you are part of this. So yeah, I think I wish I was more aware of that at the time so I could sit back and appreciate it more. And maybe that would have calmed me down and I would have been as stressed about certain things and feeling like I always had to improve and I could have just enjoyed it more. But yeah, I don't know. I guess that's part of being in the moment versus looking back on it.
When he's been interviewed before, Henry's always said this about you. He's always like, Matt is the best. I remember I've seen that, and I don't want to be misquoting there, but I'm very certain that he said that. No, I'm very certain. I'm very certain I've seen him say that publicly in a couple of interviews where he says, I mean, Matt is objectively for me the best caster that there is in CS, and he's technically the most skilled. Are you aware that Henry has that opinion of you, or have you seen what I'm talking about?
So that was the other thing. Like Thorin did this big video. He almost like set me up. Like it was almost like, so he did this one-on-one interview with me where he was like, oh, I'm here with Sadokist, technically the best caster right now, in my opinion, the best caster in all of esports, da-da-da-da-da. And then after the interview, he recorded his Thorin's thoughts about Sadokist being the best, but then released them in reverse order. So it was like going into the interview that I already knew he did this video. So I came off kind of like, oh, yeah, thanks, man. Get down. So it almost made me look worse. I was like, yo, dude, I was like, you can't stitch me up like that. Like, I didn't know you were going to put out this other huge video about it. So like, and that was always the thing. Like, and then like the next day we were in like a meeting at ESL and people were like, oh, how's it feel to be the best in ESL? I was like, fuck, here we go. Like, but like, I knew people thought that, and I kind of, from a technical point, I agree. I would argue that there's times when people might have better hype, or like Alex's true affection for gaming, where he's just so in love and like endearing with it. Like he has more of that sort of charisma in that sense. But like from my point of view, from a technical sake, this is where it comes back to my dad being in radio and listening to a lot of different sports. I think that's one of the other things that I had in my I guess my arsenal, my repertoire, was that I would listen to hockey. Jim Houston, phenomenal. Bob Cole, phenomenal. Formula One, Murray Walker, probably the best sports commentator of all time. Whereas a lot of people in esports would listen to other esports commentators for their influence. And I think a lot of other esports commentators weren't developed to that point. So it was like they were improving upon a product, but they were improving from a lower starting point, if that makes sense. Like, I think that having outside influences and bringing them over was what made me kind of unique and gave me that advantage. And I think that in terms of the technical point where Henry was saying, when I critiqued myself, it wasn't like, oh, I had to be better on that play. It was like, no, my breathing and pacing has to be better here so that I can ramp like I was looking at a very technical aspect when I was critiquing. So I think from that point of view, like, I might agree. I don't listen to every commentator in esports because I don't watch them all. So I can't objectively say I was the best at technical skill, but I would say I was up there, certainly. But like, that's not the only thing that goes into a broadcast. So there's a lot of subjectivism as well. And like, that's why I think it's unfair to just say, oh, he was the best and not give my colleagues credit either.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving away from casting, of course, the other central part of your life is racing, right? I'm looking at all the things behind you.
Yeah, it's all there.
And you were just referencing F1, everything else, Murray Walker.
Yeah, 97 years old, that guy, by the way. Holy shit, his birthday was like yesterday. That's ridiculous. Like, I mean, he's not commentating anymore, but still, like 97 years old. Like, whew.
So are you racing regularly at the moment? What's new in the racing life of Matt?
Yeah, so with COVID, obviously, we didn't do as much this year. Restrictions, public gatherings, non-essential. So I wasn't doing a lot. I was kind of the opinion that like no pay, no play this year, because obviously not working right now. I was kind of waiting at home to see what's going to happen. But I did do 3 races. That's all we had at our track. I decided we kind of talked with the local guys and they wanted to get as many people out and make it as normal as possible. So yeah, I did some, but it's just, as much as racing is very serious to me and I love it. I race at the low level where it's just for fun. So yeah, we just finished our season this past weekend, or I guess 2 weekends ago now. It's Monday. So, yeah, it was okay. I guess had a weird season, had more DNFs than normal. Normally my car is super reliable. We had like an axle break and another power steering issue. And then in the 3 hour, I got pretty aggressive on the opening corners and got taken out by another driver. So yeah, good times.
Was it always a plan once you've got going in esports that eventually you wanted to also start doing racing work and get into that side of casting?
No, I wouldn't say it was always a plan. I think that I always thought maybe esports. So for me, I never realized esports was going to be as big as it was. Even when I was getting into it, my dad was like, you can make a living off this casting. I was like, I don't know. Like, I can make some money. I don't know about a full time. And he was like, no, like you can, I'm pretty sure this is like a good, like well-paying job even. Like, I was like, yeah, we'll see. Like, and like, I never really, like, obviously when I got into it, I'm going to events. Like the first events we were at were not like Cologne like it is now. Like, and it was not Katowice like it is now. They were more festival. Think DreamHack Winter 2013, where like the first major where you had like a side of a festival that was going on and the audience was very small. It was clear like the online audience was growing, but I never thought the professionalism and the backing and all the support that it was going to gain would be there. So it was just one of those things that when it kind of all blew up, I had already in my mind thought like, oh, this would be a good stepping stone for me to maybe do some sports. So like originally I thought like maybe I'll transition out of commentary and esports. I wish I hadn't had that mentality and actually like realized like, hang on, this is like as good as it gets. I should be super happy here. Not that I wasn't happy, but you know what I mean? Like I should just focus on this. So to say that I was going to get into racing, whether it was commentary or even just for fun, no, I would have never expected that. I never would have expected that I would have been able to afford to go racing again in real life. I always thought sim racing would be my in, which I still love and it's awesome. And even when I was building the car, like I thought I was just building a track car. So like it started like I bought this like smashed up used M3 and was like, all right, I'll fix it up. And like I might go to the track, so I'll put a cage in it. I'm gonna put a cage in it. I might as well do the seat, and I guess I'll do the fire extinguisher. And like all of a sudden I'm in like a full-on fucking race car, like full suit again. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what am I doing? Here I am. Like, yeah. So it was kind of just happened.
It's interesting that you mention you wish maybe your mindset at the time had been a bit different, because it is sometimes hard to be satisfied with what we do, right? And even though you were and still are at the pinnacle of casting in esports, like when you're in that moment, like you mentioned before, you don't always realize it, right?
No, yeah. Yeah, totally. I think that, especially because it happened so fast for Henry and I, like if you look, like I wasn't full-time or even being really paid to cast until 2015. Like X Games was the big breakthrough. And then we were a duo kind of starting, I think I want to say it was like end of July. And then we were at a major in Cluj in November. Like it just went, whew. And then by 2016, people were like, oh, they're the best duo now. Like it was like a year and a half tops to go from like me sitting at home in this room playing video games like anyone else and doing occasional commentary to like literally being at every big event in the world. And like when you get thrust into it like that, like you don't realize the scale of it. Like you just take it like, oh, I guess this is it. This is normal now. Like I'm just going for it. And like I wish I could have maybe sat back and been like, okay, hang on, this is legit. Like you are in a very good position that a lot of people would work very hard for and maybe not get the chance. You need to realize that and be serious about it. Like I think a lot of it was just happened so fast that we took it for granted. We didn't understand the scale at all. And yeah, like we still did our job, but there's like certainly attitudinal things like behind the scenes of being more professional that I would have probably changed.
Did it cause, talking about it, did it cause tension with anyone else when you guys were having like a massive amount of momentum in your careers? And tension that you didn't necessarily try to cultivate yourself? Yeah,
so a little bit, like there was one at Cluj-Napoca where I asked to switch games with someone because we'd had like blowouts the whole time. And I thought like, they won't mind. Like they've all done majors. Maybe we can switch and get one better one. Like just for Henry and I, like it was a quarterfinal. It wasn't even like obviously I wouldn't be like, hey guys, can we do the finals? Like, no, I knew that we weren't going to do the finals. Like we're new there, but like, obviously again, that's me not realizing the scale of it. And like, obviously Semler and I had a falling out over that. And I think he and Anders got so used to being the only duo that we were the first ones to compete for space with them. And originally he thought it was going to be Moses and I, and we were going to be North America, Room on Fire, like that didn't pan out. And I think that he felt a little threatened by us at the start, and then eventually was welcoming to it. And now it's like, whatever, that's normal. That's competition. But he was also, and this is something I didn't know about his career, was he was someone that went through like the Good Studio and worked with all those Dota guys and the StarCraft guys and, Too Good and like who else was in Good Studio, I guess, like Zoe was in there obviously at the time, Bruno, Statsman Bruno, those kind of guys that did a lot of the internationals. And he never really got the chance that they got. And they kind of just sort of like, yeah, Semler's one of us, but like background. So when he got his breakthrough in CS, I think he was very protective of it in that sense. So like there was some tension when all of a sudden we were definitely becoming like more and more the go-to. And I think that ESL used that not by any fault of our own, Henry and I, but like they used that as leverage against Anders and Semler when it came to negotiating rates and whatnot, because suddenly there was another option that they could go to, right? So ESL suddenly had to fight back to say, hey, we don't have to pay you. We have these guys. And then that obviously created the whole E-League the Turner E-League situation where they were like, well, we're going to go here then. And then ESL was like, cool, we'll take these guys instead. We're not that upset about it. And then we became the ESL guys. And for Anders and Semler, E-League obviously didn't pan out to be a long-term thing. And it put them kind of on the back foot. So that's not our fault. But I think, like you're saying, without us even meaning to, there was some tensions just simply by us existing in that space again, or for the first time, I should say.
Yeah. Have you ever taken it personally when, receiving criticism from the general public and viewers, or has that side of things never been as much of an issue for you?
No, I think there's times when you do take it personal when like they try and make it personal, when they like shit on you. Like there's definitely times when you get defensive, like you're in a bad mood and someone shits on you. Like no one likes to be insulted, and like I think people realize it more now. Like mental health is a huge aspect in life, and social media is brutal for it, and people think they can say whatever they want to players like when they lose games, and it's brutal, it's ruthless. And like I did have to develop thick skin, but even that, like people every now and then are gonna find a way to get through that. And like, yeah, depending on how tired you are. And so I wouldn't say I like always took it personally. Like sometimes people give me criticism that would be like, you need to do this more. Okay, maybe you're right, but like at the same time, whenever someone gave me technical feedback, I'd be like, sorry, bud, like I don't really know if like I would trust my own opinion on some of that stuff too, right? So it goes both ways. I was definitely open to criticism from the right people, but at the same time was kind of defensive against it from aspects like Twitter and things like that. So yeah.
Do you think that having time away and also starting to value other things in your life has given you the opportunity to have perspective on your career? Because it's very easy in hindsight to say like, oh yeah, at the time when everything was blowing up, I wish I could have seen how big everything was and appreciate it more. But when we've been it, like when you were in that situation, when I've been in similar situations myself, like with my YouTube growing and with starting to do a bunch of events and growing that side of things, it's not easy to take a step back and look at it all for what it is. And so I feel like hindsight helps a lot. And do you feel like now, having time away and maybe having matured more as a person, you can see that now? And maybe it wouldn't be so easy to have done. It maybe was impossible to do so at the time.
I wouldn't say it was impossible, but you're right. Like, you just don't. Like, it's, again, taking it for granted. I think you're right. Looking back, hindsight is, well, 2020 is a shit year, but hindsight's 2020. That's good 2020. But yeah, definitely. I think you look back now and there's little things he'd change. Well, I think Thorin summed it up brilliantly, and it was in the farewell to Henry G video, not the one where we were all saying our piece, but that, like, his Thorin's thoughts version of it. Where he was, saying, like, sometimes we didn't work things out, or we just, would think like, well, that'll work itself out, or whatever the case may be in a certain problem, and that we'll see the next event anyway, so who cares? Now I realize, no, that's not the case. Like, if I came back, Moses is gone, Henry's gone, obviously Anders and Semler have been split for a long time now, Yanko's gone off to coaching a while ago, like, it's a very different space now. There's very different people, and it's not those same lifelong memories that I created. Like, it's not just going back to my bros anymore. If I did, get back into it next year, let's say we go back to live events, whatever the case may be. And I realize now that, like, all good things must come to an end. So I would have liked to have worked out some of the problems that we were having maybe behind the scenes ahead of time, talk things through, less animosity, the camaraderie to bring back. And I think you're right. Like, you mature out of it and you realize, like, and not only that, at the time, I get anxious. Like, I can be very, like, have anxiety issues at times where I'll manifest thoughts based on people's, attitude. And I'll think like, oh, like, they think this about me, or like they must assume something. Or now I realize, like, no, that's just me. Like, I was being an idiot. Like, I look back and I'm like, wow, man, like, I need to just shut up and just smarten up and be less, I guess, on edge over anything. And I wish I hadn't known that at the time. And it's one of those things, like, I would try and be more mindful of going forward. But again, in the moment, that's not how anxiety works. It makes you think, oh God, everything's ending. Your life's over. Like, yeah. So, like, it's one of those things, like, in hindsight, sure, I realized, like, I could have changed a lot, and I had more power and more influence to change things than I realized.
I think it's so easy to say that with hindsight, though. It's so hard to be completely aware of what's going on in the moment, in general life, like in general daily life, and especially in a situation like you were, like we all have been at points in our careers where it's really hard to sit back and be like, man, I'm smashing it right now. I've got all of this stuff ahead of me, and to fully appreciate it and fully sort of, it requires, like, the reason why I use the word impossible, because in my head, I've thought about it a bit, and I feel like it requires a level of maturity that you can't really have perhaps at the age that we were going through those things, a level of experience that perhaps you can't have without going through those things and then seeing them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Like, and it's, again, it's like the same thing like in high school. Like, I'm more aware of, like, friendships that, like, broke down over absolutely nothing just because you're anxious, and, like, you don't realize it's happening because you have to go through that. You have to learn from it. Like, but that's the important part, is that I can look back now and identify some of those mistakes and hopefully not make them again in the future. But it's like I say with anxiety, if, like, one event, there's a bit of tension, maybe Henry's tired, maybe he's got something going on in his personal life that I don't even know about, but, like, his attitude toward me has changed. And then I start noticing little things, and maybe I'm tired as well, and I'm in a shit mood. And then I'm like, well, Henry's pissed about nothing. Like, what an asshole. Like, and I'm using him as the example, but, like, like, but you get defensive, right? And you're like, wow, like,
bro, I was gonna say,
guy,
I'll never forget, guys, everybody watching, when we were in
where's this going?
When we were in Romania, and we were at a broadcast day, and I came in for my call time, and everyone was, like, sat down in the green room, and someone turns around to me and says, Matt's car's been stolen.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like, oh no. This is so like bad. On the top list of things. And at the time you were a bit stressed. There was some stress between people. And I was like, oh my God, this is literally the worst possible thing that could happen. And I remember running into you later that day, and it was just like, you were hollow, man. Luckily, that situation panned out okay, but it was just, it's an example that illustrates sometimes things are happening that are hard to sort of act completely optimal within, etc.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, at least in that case, everyone knew that it was my car and people were aware that I was going to be in a bad mood. But like, there's times when, say, someone has something going on private and they don't tell you, and then you just assume it's you that's the problem. And, you know, anxiety makes you think like, oh, like, what did I do wrong? Or he's being unreasonable. That, like, you just got to like slow it down. You just got to like take a deep breath, relax, maybe ask them like, hey, can I do anything better? Like, what's going on? Maybe they tell you, maybe they don't, but it's not always the end of the world. And it's not always some battle that like it's, like Henry once said to me, he's like, Matt, everyone's not out to get you. Calm down. And I realized, like, yeah, that's kind of my attitude. I feel like I'm being very defensive toward everyone. Like you have to, and like you say, hindsight, easy to say that, but it's one of those things like I need to keep in my mind moving forward. Like, hey, maybe they're having the bad day. Maybe it's not just me that's, you know, the problem.
With regards to moving forward, like, let's just pretend Corona's not going on. Yeah, let's say,
one sec.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna be 2 seconds.
That's cool, bro.
Sorry, thought I heard Jaden at the door again.
No, it's fine.
We're good. Okay. So with regards to
No, it's fine. Talking about moving things. Remember, I'm editing this, bro. So like,
yeah, I know. That's why
don't worry about it, bro.
Before the question, that's all.
Talking about moving forward, let's just pretend Corona's not going on, right? Everything's back to normal as of tomorrow. Sure. What would Matt be doing? How would you be structured based on everything that we've said and the experiences you've had? What would you like to be doing in a post-Corona world with regards to casting or general life? CS, other games, racing. Obviously,
at that point, I've outlived the zombies. All the rest of humanity's dead. So I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want, you know. Imagine it does feel apocalyptic at times, doesn't it? Like
it does.
All this lockdown nonsense. I mean, I'm saying not. I mean, the lockdown's appropriate. Okay, I'm not getting political with that statement. I'm just saying it does seem nonsensical that we're in this. All right, back to where we were. Forget all of that and cut. I don't know where I'd like to be. I think one of the things I didn't want to do is stress out this year in 2020 with Corona here because there's nothing I can do. It's out of my control. Like this is. Even if I was like, I want to go back to work. There's no guarantee I can with travel restrictions and. Why stress myself over that? So I always said 2021 would be my deadline and when I'd like to have a plan on what to do. And we're getting closer to that. And the stress is starting to kind of like realize, like, do I want to go back to school and maybe just forget this altogether and move on? Or do I want to like come back to casting? And I've had very, very brief contact with certain individuals in the scene to ask what my plans are and if I want to come back. And I think I would if the offer was there. So far, there hasn't been any offers, but I think everyone's kind of caught up doing. I'd like to think everyone's caught up doing their own thing. Maybe I'm just left out at this point. Maybe I am gone. Maybe no one's going to hire me again. I don't know. But for me, I do want to find never
happen, mate.
I think I'd like to do something that is sustainable. And that's where it comes back to like feeling like we had to say yes to every event. It's not necessarily events alone. Like maybe there's some content I can do. Maybe there's some online stuff I can do. This gives me steady income at that point in time. Cause that's the big thing right now. I have no income. It's not, you know, I'm fine. Like I said, I had plans to make it to 2021 before I had stress, but I got to come up with something. And so if the offer is that I can go back to casting and someone calls me tomorrow and says, hey, come cast Counter-Strike, so long as it's the right, you know, duo or whoever I'm going to work with or whatever the plan is. Yeah, I'm interested for sure. If racing comes and says, hey, we need you to commentate this, sure, I'll do that too. That is probably less likely. I did some sim stuff. I did more hosting than commentary, which obviously I'm better at commentary than hosting. But it went all right. And I've done some behind the scenes YouTube stuff that is still due to be released. Part of it's out, part of it's not yet. That I would continue doing more of. But again, that involves having more events where I'm not one of the main go-to commentators in the racing world. It means that I would have to be sort of one of those behind the scenes people, which involves having a crowd and having more people at, you know, non-essential people at races and whatnot. So I don't know. There's lots available for content and my skills certainly have a place somewhere. It's not like, you know, obviously I was good at what I did, so I should be able to find something, but I just don't know yet.
I wasn't aware that you were thinking of just not casting again.
Well, it's one of those things. Like I'm 5-6 years now into it since I started. Henry's not my duo anymore. They've kind of moved into like this whole trio system, which they're flirting with maybe keeping. If I go back, sure, I'm skilled enough to be there, but like, am I going to enjoy it? Is it going to be the same? Is my value still what it was in the sense that I'm essential to the broadcast? Like, is it worth it? Maybe I just say, hey, that was great. That was an incredible 5 years. Maybe it's time to go look into production or look into just going back to school and doing something different altogether with business or whatever. I don't know. It's one of those things like, can I go back? I mean, what if I go back and I go, shit, I don't want to be here. Actually, I lied. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. Right. So it's just a thought that's crossed my mind.
I think it's a fallacy that any talent are completely essential. I 100% understand what you mean, is that you can make your worth high enough that you feel like you're constantly wanted. But I think ultimately, if you get into working as talent and you're trying to make yourself essential, it's
everyone's replaceable.
Everybody's replaceable. Like if you go that route, you're setting yourself up for at some point a fall.
Yep. And that's always one of the other stressful aspects. That's why we felt like we had to say yes to every
Yeah, exactly.
Say, no, they'll hire me again next week. And it's also why you have to be very careful with industry rates and knowing what the going rate is, because, you know, if I go in and ask $400 a day more than someone else, that's like, they're going to look at that and be like, is this guy crazy? Like, what the hell? But also you don't want to undercut other people and pull rates back, because I'll be honest, there's a shit ton of undercutting. And people that even tweet being like, I don't undercut, have undercut. Like, there's so many people that undercut and then get mad on social media when someone does it to them. It's utterly ridiculous, which is one thing I never wanted, and always used to be very transparent with others about what we were getting paid, or even like talking to them ahead of time to make sure they were getting paid similar. Like, but yeah, it's one of those things, like, you can't take it for granted and just go in and negotiate. Like, I'll be crass about it, but don't walk into the room like you got the biggest dick. Like, there's other people that will be in there that have same value or equal value, or maybe if you overprice yourself, you're not even needed. So you got to be careful. I don't have the biggest dick in the room, just to be clear.
I've not seen it, Matt, so I wouldn't know.
Well, stay a little late in the broadcast.
Jokes, mate. So, I guess other than that, bro, it's nice to catch up and talk. Like, it feels like you're in a good mental space, which is, as we kind of touched upon, super important. And I think with a lot of the people that I'm going to speak to on the esports sort of player talent side of things, it's gonna be a common thread, because this stuff can be super like stressful. It can be mentally fatiguing and confusing. And I know that when we were spending a lot of so I don't think I ever traveled exactly as much as, let's say, for instance, you and Henry in your prime, but I am someone that has traveled an extreme amount at times too. And when we were doing those sorts of traveling together, there was a time where you were very stressed by everything and life was seeming to be getting the best of you. But it feels like now, again, like you mentioned, or like we were talking about, you seem to have more perspective. You're a bit more at peace.
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of that too is just also like being able to go biking and trail building. I'm in the woods by myself for like 8 hours, just ripping on a trail that I'm like creating, and
ripping on a trail.
Ripping on a trail, baby. Get me that big old Pulaski and hoe and road hoe and rake, and oh yeah, baby, let's go. Just like being able to do stuff like that and like get out and like not just be confined to a hotel is a big part of it too. But you're right, it is the being able to look back in a calmer state, you know, looking out at sea from the shore. It's not as rough as it was when you're out there. Like, it's fine. That's probably a really bad analogy. I try to sound smart, but you get the idea. Yeah, it can just, it's, I'm definitely in a better place with it for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, the dog's running.
The dog's run off because his mum's just come in. You've met my girlfriend before, Matt.
Yeah. I met her probably like 2016 and hello, hey.
He says hello, Bev. I forgot, dude.
Yeah, she's done a bunch of events. Like,
that's crazy. As I was saying, or carrying on from what you were saying, yeah, it's good to see, and I think it's important that when people look at a character like yourself and a story like yours, that they see the highs and the lows, and that they see that it's a real experience and that you've got a lot ahead of you. I think that you can still do, and I definitely would be surprised if you didn't carry on casting in CS. I feel like it would be unfortunate for us as an audience.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I thought like maybe it's just Counter-Strike. Maybe I need a break. I don't know if there's any other game I would go to. Like, I still think CS is king. And
bro,
like,
you could get a big Valorant paycheck, right?
I don't know, man. Riot might not agree. But we'll see about that one. But no, like, even still, like, I'm not opposed to other games. I got nothing against other games, but like CS is still the one that I'm like the most interested in when I sit back and look at it. So yeah, we'll see.
there's definitely going to be opportunities in the future. So let's say Henry stays in C9, you're doing a bit of casting here and there, or doing your racing stuff, or whatever else you decide to do. There's definitely going to be a tournament organizer at some point that knocks on you guys' doors together, gets you in an email, is like, look, we want to bring the duo back for maybe like a couple of like a big special major or something, and we'll sort you out. But I hope that it doesn't end up just being that, because I'm going to miss Henry casting. I think you and Henry as a duo, and both of you separately are brilliant. But like, with regards to yourself and as a caster on your own, I hope you don't take a full step back.
Yeah. Maybe people in the comments can say like who I should duo with. Like, who would you pick? I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, you're right. Like, on my own, sure, I'd be fine. But like, who would you want to see me working with, Paula?
It's a tough question, man.
We're gonna duo.
It's one of those things that I've just never done casting.
You, and Thorin in a tri-cast.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting.
It'd be one guy really critical and angry, me just hyping, and you just making sweet jokes the whole time. We've got everything covered.
Absolutely. Well, bro, great to chat. Great to catch up. Where can people find you? Twitter, Instagram, or whatever, or?
Yeah, always just at Sadokist. It's not hard to find.
Are you producing any of your own? Are you streaming at all at the moment, or are you doing?
No,
YouTube
not really.
stuff,
I'm 6 months behind on releasing my AMA video. So, yeah, I know, right? Like, I don't even know how this happens. It feels like I just put that AMA out yesterday, and every time I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow, and then like 3 weeks go by during COVID because like, time is just a vacuum right now. So. Once that comes out, I got another bunch of backlog stuff for the YouTube channel, racing stuff and whatnot. But yeah, Instagram, I have a ton of stories for the day-to-day life. Twitter, I'm still opinionated and yelling at people. So those are the places.
Yeah, do that, guys. Go find him. And that gives you an impetus to put some of your own stuff out, mate. Yeah. I mean, for like you and Henry back in the day, for a period, you did have your own production company. You had Drop the Bomb.
Yeah, Drop the Bomb.
Drop the Bomb, mate. That's a throwback. I forgot about that. I know you can do these things, and so just do them, brother.
I know. Yes, that is the answer to the question. Yes, or the solution, whatever the problem. You know what I mean? Yes, just do it. Nike, swish.
Yeah, and the editing and everything.
Up, swish.
You can get it cracked out. Wicked, man. Well, is there anything else that you want to say before we go our separate ways?
No, it's been good to catch up. Honestly, it's been good to see you. Thanks for asking me to do this. I hope everything's good over there. I know Sweden has no quarantine going in, which is super cool.
Yeah, bro. It's been weird for me to see my friends and family going through lockdown stuff, and other than 6 months or 5 months where my martial arts gym closed, my life here has not changed.
Yeah, which is key. Like, because here it's aside from that, I'm home more and like not really doing a whole lot other than personal stuff. It's pretty much the same as it would be if I was home, not at an event. So yeah, I get you. We do have the quarantine here, and masks are mandatory now, which is totally fine by me. I got no problem with that. I'd rather have it that way and be safe and smart about it. But yeah, other than that, like just living it out.
Yeah,
waiting for the apocalypse to end.
I think we're going to trigger it by this podcast, mate. The apocalypse is coming.
Yeah, all the COVID zombies are coming back.
Well, nice one, Matt. Thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully see you sooner rather than later, bro.
For sure. See you, dude.
Peace.